Is your legal name Ray Daybell?
It is.
She's lost her mind. I don't know how to say it.
Was any crime even committed? And where is this evidence?
Did you hear any statements of her wanting to harm or kill Charles?
No, other than she used the word destroy.
Prior to my incarceration, I did study procedure in family law, and I have real trial experience.
Doomsday Call mom Lori Vallow Daybell is picking her jury today. She's representing herself in her trial in Arizona, and she's going to need all of her power and experience to find fair and impartial jurors. And a teenage boy in Wisconsin allegedly killed his parents and lived with their corpses for 2 weeks. We're talking about what could have motivated this gruesome chain of events. Also this hour, a possible motive in the case of the Maui doctor who's accused of trying to kill his wife. New reports say that he thought she was cheating on him. We're spotlighting one woman's fight for survival. Plus, Donna Adelson wants parts of her daughter Wendy's book blocked from trial. We'll tell you how questioning of the defendant's daughter could be tipping the scales of justice. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Just like in an actual trial, what we do on this program every weekday morning is get you all primed and ready to go to hear the evidence when Court TV Live begins. We have a great show planned, so let's get it going. Grab that cup of coffee like you always do. It's time for my opening statement. Justice demands it. Justice for Madeline Soto demands it. We don't want to cover it as much as you don't want it covered. That's what I want to say to defendant Stephan Stearns. His lawyer motioning the court to bar the media and the public from watching any of his pre-trial hearings. Stearns is accused of sexually abusing and murdering his girlfriend's daughter, 13-year-old Madeline Soto. His sex abuse case is going first, and his homicide case will follow. Now, the court has denied his defense team's motion, so the media and the public will not be excluded. Good. That's the right call. And believe me, I'm sure I speak for everyone in the media when I say that none of us want to be covering the case of a murdered, beautiful young child. It's gut-wrenching what was done to her. She was a child, and she was robbed of her innocence. And you know, we all wish that she would have never been abused, and we all wish that she would have never been killed. But somebody did those things to her. So now somebody needs to be brought to justice. Madeline Soto's life mattered, and it's time for what allegedly happened behind closed doors to finally be brought to light. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Is that the text that you received from Kurt that morning?
Yes.
And what does it say?
Kurt, I am sorry, brother, but she's a vindictive devil. She played us all. I am really sorry, brother, but she manipulated us all.
Testimony resumes this morning in the murder trial for Dr. Ingolf Turk. That one's going to kick back off at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll go there live together when it does. In Minnesota, we've got Sarah Beth Peterson's sentencing set for 2 p.m. Eastern today. She's the defendant who was found guilty of criminal vehicular homicide after she was reportedly high on meth and crashed into an Amish buggy that was carrying 2 children inside who were killed. Then her twin sister, Sarah, attempted to take the fall for her. So we're going to be following that case this afternoon. In Arizona, we've got jury selection beginning in cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell's homicide trial. And that is, of course, our top story for you this morning. The doomsday cult mom, as you know, already convicted of murdering her 2 youngest children, JJ and Tylee, and her 5th husband's first wife, Tammy. Now she's in Arizona acting as her own lawyer on charges relating to the death of her 4th husband, Charles Vallow. And she's also got another pending case of conspiring to murder her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux.
In discovery, I have interviews with police on every single one of the witnesses that are on my list.
Okay.
So I know that they had their addresses. I know that we were trying to get the addresses to them in the quickest way possible. And where I am at the jail, the communication is very difficult for me to get a hold of my investigator, to get a hold of my paralegal. I'm 23 hours a day locked down. If I don't have Wi-Fi, I don't have a phone. If I don't have battery, I don't have a phone. I don't have access to get to people. So I understand the time constraints, and we're doing the best that we can.
Meanwhile, we got another bizarre development to share with you. Newspaper reporter Nate Eaton found himself listed on Lori Vallow Daybell's witness list. What? He did tremendous reporting on this case for East Idaho News, and Eaton did something really smart. He filed an emergency motion last week saying he wants the judge to take him off of that list as he was just covering this case. He doesn't have any firsthand knowledge of the facts, and he believes that perhaps it's a ploy by Lori Daybell to just keep him out of the courtroom, because if he's a witness, then he would be subject to the sequestration order, presumably. So let's talk about that and everything else we can expect when this jury gets picked starting today. I have two great guests standing by now. Let me welcome them in now with me. Well, got some heavy hitters in the criminal defense world. Mario Gallucci and Don Malarsic are here. Good morning, gentlemen. Oh, Lori Vallow Daybell. She should have called you two, but she didn't. She's going pro se. Oh my. Let's start there and how that's going to go today. Don, you've been following this case, talking with us about it for quite some time. How do you foresee this going when it kicks off today?
Oh my, it's going to be a disaster. I mean, Lori Daybell is delusional. She's unhinged. She's dangerous. And those are really not the words you want on the back of your lawyer's business card. So it's going to be a real disaster. She is an articulate person, but she's obviously delusional. And she has convinced herself that she can do this, that she can represent herself, that she has some special powers. Well, all of that is going to come to a screeching halt as soon as that jury walks into the courtroom and she's tasked with the responsibility of asking questions and picking a jury, doing an opening statement, and cross-examining witnesses. It's going to be a disaster.
100%, Don, 100%. You know, something I'm envisioning, Mario, don't know if you saw the interview with Keith Morrison on Dateline. He did a sit-down with her, and all she did was want to try to redirect where he was trying to go. Every question, she had some answer. She would tap dance around and just go in circles, and it was very clear, and he got frustrated with that she was wasting his time. And I'm wondering if she's going to try to do that again over the next several weeks with the trial. Your thoughts, Mario?
So I agree with Don. I mean, whenever you have a pro se defendant in a case like this, the judge assigned her advisors, but she has no skills. Although she's articulate, she doesn't have any skills to cross-examine, or she's never picked a jury before, and she's starting at the top of the food chain with a murder trial. You know, usually you start at a petty larceny and you pick a couple of jurors, but she started at the top of the food chain. I think that she is going to become unhinged during a trial. The judge is going to have a very difficult time. He's been more than patient with her from what I've seen, giving her as much leeway as he possibly could. I mean, the questions are pretty, accurate. She's locked down for 23 hours, so she doesn't have the access that she would have, that anybody else would have. She doesn't have access to her investigators to interview people. So, it's just going to be a train wreck. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Definitely,
Mario. It's funny. I used that word on the radio this morning talking about this case, and I said we can't look away for that reason. Let's talk about the types of jurors she might ideally want. Don, let me go to you to start us off on that. Who do you think would be a good juror for Cult Mom?
Well, at its core, this is really pretty much a circumstantial evidence case. I mean, they don't have the things that would typically create a lock-solid, strong case for the government, eyewitnesses or confessions. So it's going to be a circumstantial evidence case. You're going to want jurors that can keep an open mind, that are going to be well-versed in crime stories, that expect a very clean case with overwhelming evidence, confessions, videos, those kind of things that we see on TV where cases are solved in 30 minutes. So I think that's probably her best bet, is to find some of those jurors that are really going to be looking for clear, concise, objective evidence that doesn't really seem to be here.
Yeah, great advice, Don. I have a clip for both of you. This is of Charles Vallow when he was alive, and he was essentially, waving the flags and trying to get someone to pay attention to what was going on with Lori at the time, even going to police, saying she's out of her mind, saying that she can murder him. Let's take a look back at some of what he said.
I've tried to support her as much as I could, but it's gotten really, really bad lately. She's had a break. She says, I'm Nick Schneider. I've taken over Charles's body, and Charles has been killed. I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow. I can do it. I'm not going to with my priesthood, with my powers. She does priesthood blessings. She does.
So who's Nick Schneider? Okay.
That's who I'm supposed to be.
So as we know, they were LDS, and then she started subscribing to Mr. Doomsday's religious teachings, and she veered off and became this cult follower. And we know that they used religion as a guise to commit the murders in the last trial, where both of them were convicted. Mario, tell me, how key do you think clips like that one we just saw are going to be for this jury?
So what I found is really sad is that although he's going through all of this, he has so much compassion for her, and he really cares about her, and he thinks that she needs help. And even that interview he did on the body-worn camera back, I believe it was in January, where he's explaining to the officer that, how concerned he is, that she's got mental problems, that in this instance that she thinks that he's another person. And he's not angry. He's saying she needs help. And he tried to get her the help she needed. So I think these clips, if they're played, is going to weigh very big on the jury. Now, it's just a question of how the prosecutor is going to get those clips before the jury.
Excellent points. Mario, thank you for that. From everything we've heard, he was a very loving human being and would have done anything for her and those kids, which was certainly evident in the last trials, as we saw. Don, let me ask you about reporter Nate Eaton, a great journalist with East Idaho News. He was the one who largely got this case brought to light in his coverage. I mean, he went to Hawaii when Cult Mom and Mr. Doomsday were there gallivanting and having a great time on their honeymoon, and the kids were missing. And she put him on her witness list, and he files this motion with the court saying, Judge, take me off. I don't know anything about the facts of this case. I'm just a journalist. I've just been following the case from the outset. What do you think the court should do with that, Don?
I really think this is just a ploy by Lori to keep him out of the courtroom. As you mentioned, there is a separation of witnesses, and what that means is if a witness has been under subpoena, a valid subpoena for trial, they cannot participate or watch any other witness or any other proceedings at trial. So I think you were absolutely right. This is a ploy for Lori to keep him out of the trial so he doesn't continue to cover her case and cases. I think the judge should grant the motion to quash. It's a frivolous subpoena. He has no firsthand information whatsoever. He's not a fact witness. He's not an expert witness. He's just someone who was accurately reporting devastating evidence against Lori, and she doesn't like it.
Excellent points. Great insight from you both. As always, glad you're sticking around. Don Malarczyk, Mario Gallucci, stand by, please. Coming up next for you here on Opening Statements.
The defendant continued to live in that residence with the two bodies in the house. He then fled with the $14,000 in cash.
We got a shocking case out of Wisconsin we need to talk about as a teenager allegedly kills his parents and then lives with their dead bodies for weeks. Plus, a possible motive in the case against the Maui doctor accused of attempting to murder his wife.
Before next week's season premiere of Interview with a Killer, relive the most shocking moments of season 1.
Tell me, why are you here?
She needed
payback for what you did.
You meet someone that make you angry and you shoot them.
Are you not prepared today to take responsibility for any of your crimes?
Interview with a Killer Marathon, Sunday at 7. And Season 2 starts Sunday, April 13th, only on Court TV.
The first count is first-degree intentional homicide. This is a Class A felony, and if convicted, he shall be sentenced to imprisonment for life. Count 2 is a second count of first-degree intentional homicide with the exact same maximum punishment.
Now, for what's trending in true crime, this is a horrifying case in Wisconsin where 17-year-old Nikita Casap has been charged with the murder of his mother and his stepfather. According to authorities, he shot his parents in their home back on February 11th, but their bodies suffered severe decomposition and they were not found until February 28th. During a wellness check, court documents saying that Casap kept his parents' bodies in a room covered up in blankets all that time. He's also seen on a home security camera showing off the body of his deceased stepfather. Casap made his first appearance in court last week. He's facing 9 criminal charges, 2 of which are first-degree intentional homicide. Our question this morning, what might have been his motive to allegedly murder his parents? Let's bring in our power panel. Still with me, attorneys Don Malarczyk and Mario Gallucci. And I want to welcome in psychology experts. She's also an expert in the area of parenting and family relationships, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Dr. Sue, would you start us off, please? What did you think when you heard about this young man?
Well, first of all, I was horrified. Then I went to learn some more information about why this was occurring, and I couldn't find so much, Julie, on what the family relationship was like, although I can suspect that there was some kind of trauma or abuse going on. The other thing that is interesting here is it seems that he was brainwashed in relating to this Russian man, right? We heard that in the news, that he wanted to move to Ukraine and that he wanted to have a new life there away from his parents, which is very interesting. Though I see that there's some premeditation here. And you know what's so interesting? You brought up before that he covered his parents in blankets. And that is very common when you kill a family member. When you have some kind of emotional connection to the family member, you often will cover them in blankets to represent that you do have a little remorse, as far as a killer can have remorse.
That's fascinating insight, Dr. Sue. Wondered about that. What would be the purpose, trying to keep them warm after they're deceased? It makes no sense, but that makes sense. Thank you for that. Don Malarczyk, let me go to you next. Nikita Casap, 17 years old, in a world of trouble. Your thoughts as you hear about this case?
Well, this is just really a horrific, tragic case. 17 years old, killing his mother and stepfather. It's awful. It's almost unfathomable. But, if I'm a part of his defense team, what I would do is bring in someone like Dr. Sue, get in a psychiatric evaluation, complete psychological workup, get all his school records, start looking at any family issues, go back 3 generations, look for mental health issues, look for any potential trauma, and try to make sense really of the unfathomable. This isn't really a whodunit. What the question is why? And it's going to take a lot of testing, a lot of time, a lot of experts really digging into this kid's psyche to try to even attempt to come up with some answers.
Most definitely. Great points, Don. Mario Gallucci, last but not least on this case, I want your thoughts, please.
I completely agree with Don. This kid is, and he shows no remorse, which is unbelievable to me. The consciousness of guilt portion of this, where he already has his exit plan to escape to Ukraine, to get away with it. But the videotaping of his parents decomposing, to me, is very troubling. That indicates to me that he suffers from an absolute mental disease, a defect somewhere along the line. And we need to get those records. We need to get him evaluated by a doctor. We need to get all the psychiatric reports, and then we need to maybe resolve this case with a plea and not take it to trial. This is horrific.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Mario. Thank you for that. We'll leave it there for the time being, but of course, continue following all the developments. In other trending news we want to turn to now, we have some shocking body camera footage showing a New Jersey mayor moments after allegedly driving drunk with her toddler in the car. Lumberton Township Mayor Gina LaPlaca is seen taking her toddler out of her car just outside of her house. She was having trouble keeping her balance, police say. In the video, you can see some damage right there. Look at her mirror. Damage to her car. This video was shot on March 17th on St. Patrick's Day. You can also see the mayor losing her balance when she's asked to perform some field sobriety testing. She finally tells the officers what she drank earlier in the day.
How much did you have to drink today?
I don't know.
What did you drink?
Vodka.
Sorry. We're just doing our job, so.
No, I know you are.
All right, so at this time we have to place you on arrest for driving while intoxicated.
So police arrested Madam Mayor. She's charged with DUI, reckless driving, and endangering the welfare of her child. Some of the Lumberton Township residents want the mayor to resign after this. So our question to our panel this morning, is the incident forgivable or is it reprehensible? And as we know, this happened in New Jersey, where you practice law, Mario Gallucci. So I want to go to you first, please.
So it's unfortunate. She just had a very bad day, is the way I'm looking at it. Her husband does say that she does have an alcohol problem and that she is now going through rehab. The troubling part to me was that she had her toddler in the car. But when you look at the videotape, one of the things that was very apparent to me, although when she got out of the car, she was slurring, she was stumbling around, she passed. She wasn't slurred. She didn't have any slurred speech. She was answering the questions that were given to her. So on a DWI, this is probably something that I would point out. The troubling part here is the endangering the welfare of the child. Like I said, that's an indictable offense. Whether she gets indicted for it or not is another question. I doubt it. She's got no prior history. So this case will probably be resolved with some sort of rehab.
Mario, would she be eligible for a pretrial diversionary program with the endangerment charge?
So a PTI, the pretrial intervention program in New Jersey, is available to an indictable offense if it's a third or fourth degree. She's charged with a fourth degree crime. But whether or not a prosecutor in Jersey would actually keep that case is another question. As a criminal defense attorney in New Jersey, I would try to resolve this without her using up her diversionary program, because once you use it, you cannot use it again. So if I could get this case, all of it remanded back down to municipal court and resolve it with some sort of plea down there, that would be helpful. You got to remember, in New Jersey, a DUI is not a criminal offense. It's one of the few states that DUI is not a crime. All it is it's a vehicle and traffic law violation. So if you could resolve this with the DWI and get rid of the endangering the welfare of a child and then just move on, I think we'll be fine.
Mario, thank you for all of that. So Mario, he's a forgiver here. Some people in our newsroom, not so forgivable. Two of the ladies, wonderful ladies on this morning show team. Dr. Sue, curious what you think. Forgivable or reprehensible here?
I'm going to go against that. It's reprehensible to me. As a mother and somebody that is responsible for a young child, this is reprehensible. To me, she has a problem. This probably wasn't just a one-time thing. She needs help, but the fact that her child was in the car and there was a possibility of her getting in an accident and possibly killing herself and her child or anybody else on the road, to me, is reprehensible. I do hope that she gets the help that she needs, but I'm also wondering, Julie, I think she picked him up at daycare. So did she come into daycare drunk? Did anybody realize that she was under the influence and didn't do anything? There's a lot of questions here, but at the end of the day, to me, This just was awful and put a child in endangerment.
Appreciate it. All right, Don Milarczyk, pressure's on. Break the tie. What do you say, please?
Julie, I'm a softie. I mean, I'm a criminal defense attorney, right? So I forgive. I mean, I believe that mercy is freely given. It's not earned. I believe that we are more than the worst thing we've ever done. She is obviously a woman in crisis. She is really struggling there. She's getting some help. That's fantastic. And, you know, honestly, we saw some things there that we haven't seen in some elected officials who get pulled over, who play the card of, do you know who I am? Or I'm going to call your boss, or nonsense like that. I think by the time the officers were really talking to her person to person at the end, she felt awful about what she had done. It sank in. She realized it. She's tearful. She's truthful. She's honest. She is a woman in crisis that needs some help. Now, should she resign from mayor? Probably. It's time to focus on yourself, focus on your family, but hopefully she can get the treatment she needs and move on and live a very happy and fulfilling and substance and alcohol abuse life.
Great points, and we'll leave it there for now. You're all coming with us. I'm so glad we have you to continue with us on the show. We're going to hit a break as we're at the bottom of the hour. Here's what's still to come for you on opening statements.
Like, it sounds like she's foreshadowing a future event in her book, doesn't it?
Well, she made it sound like that, I know.
Mama Donna's trial is fast approaching, and now she wants her daughter Wendy's book banned from the case. Plus, a potential motive for the Maui doctor accused of trying to push his wife off a cliff. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the Maui doctor who's accused of attempting to murder his wife. Some new details about how the fight unfolded and a possible motive behind it. In a newly revealed affidavit of probable cause, Gerhard allegedly asked his wife, Ariel, to take a selfie with him right in front of a really steep cliff. When she got nervous and refused, she says that he pushed her, grabbed her upper arms area and started the attack. Now, this all happened at a very popular tourist lookout in Oahu. Fortunately, 2 hikers were nearby. They allegedly saw this attack going on, called 911 after hearing Ariel screaming, "He's trying to kill me." She also said he was bashing her head with a rock. In the meantime, she has filed a petition for a restraining order, and it has been granted. This guy cannot go within 500 feet of her. And the petition is quite illuminating. It sets a backdrop where she says he was getting jealous, accusing her of cheating. And she says this was his theory. You know, he had this theory that she was having an affair, and that's what led to extreme jealousy on his part. Let's dig in some more on this case. I want to bring in Court TV senior producer, journalist Barbara McDonald. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning, Julie.
You grew up in Hawaii, born and raised,
yes.
And you're familiar with this area. So
very.
Could we start there? What's it like?
It's one of the most popular tourist attractions on the island of Oahu. If you've ever driven around the island, you drove right through here, even if you didn't stop at the lookout. It connects the main part of Oahu, Honolulu, with the eastern shore where Kaneohe and Kailua are. That's where Obama vacations, over on that side of the island. But about 1 million people visit this area every year, but it's also very, very steep. It is a dangerous area. If you're on the Honolulu side, it's not as steep, but over on the windward side, those cliffs are sheer, dropping off 1,200 feet down to sea level below. And that's what makes it such a wonderful lookout spot. In the particular trail they were on, we found these images on, or this is actually from one of our affiliates in Hawaii. This image is from a blogger, Nagri V, and this is the trail that we believe they were on, and you can see how treacherous that is. And Ariel Koenig, in that request for the restraining order, described how there were sheer drop-offs on both sides of this cliff that she was on, which is what made her so concerned. It is a dangerous area. People who grew up in Hawaii know that nature is dangerous, right? You have to take precautions, even though it is beautiful and wonderful and all of that. And so she was very concerned, and she describes this just vicious attack where he yells at her to get back over there to the edge of the cliff and says, I'm sick of you. And this is a vacation that she thought he brought her on to Oahu for the couple of days to celebrate her birthday. They've been having this rough time. They were both in therapy, couples therapy and individual, after this allegation that he had allegedly made that she was having an affair. She said that sparked this very obsessive behavior from him, where he was trying to control her communications and perhaps reading her text messages and private messages. And she also talks about, in this request for this restraining order, that he had previously sexually abused and assaulted her. And so there was all this turmoil in these months leading up to this trip. She thinks things are getting better. They go out on this treacherous hike, and he, according to her and these witnesses, tries to kill her by pushing her off, bashing her head with the rock, sticking her with a syringe with, we don't even know what was in the syringe. They haven't recovered those yet. So just a vicious attack, and in such a strange location where there's people everywhere.
Right.
Tourists and hikers and residents.
I was thinking about that, Barbara. I wanted to ask you about that, please. Because we know these two women who saw the attack happening seem to be like a miracle for Ariel Koenig, in that, I mean, she's been everything you described, you know, pushed, attacked with a syringe, beaten with a rock, and she's screaming and pleading for help, and then they say, we see you, we're calling 911, they're here to rescue her. My thought was, how busy is this area? Was this a fluke that they were there, or is this an area where it's commonly traveled?
Well, so there's two parking areas for this lookout area, and everybody pretty much goes to the lookout first, and then there's these trails that go off of the lookout area. And so the lookout is the main attraction. Fewer people go on the hikes because it is more treacherous. You need to know what you're doing. And it's not a beginner's hike. You know, it's probably one for somebody with a little bit more experience. And so it probably didn't have a tremendous number of people on that specific trail, but they're in an area where you're gonna hear, you're gonna see what's going on.
Sure. So, you know, it's open, it's wide open. It's not a secret, you know, place where this could have.
And you have, you know, tourist buses stopping to drop off loads of tourists to this area, cars passing through in the tunnels that connect this area. So just a very, very busy area. And you would think if this was what his intent was, he could have found a more remote location on Maui or Oahu.
Sure, that's a great point. Barbara, this is great having this context. I want to bring in now Dr. Sue Kornbluth to become part of this conversation. Dr. Sue, when you hear some of the information Barbara just shared with us about how he was suspecting her of having an affair, do you think this could be a possible motive for what police say happened last Monday?
I mean, absolutely. When anybody has an affair, we've seen in other cases that it can be a motive to murder the other person because they have obsessive personalities, controlling personalities, and they need to be in control at all times. I mean, while I was listening to this, I wasn't sure if there was previous history of him being violent towards her, and I was thinking there probably was, and Barbara confirmed that. So this is a history of, it seems, violence between the two of them that doesn't just stop without severe help that he would get. It seems like she was a battered woman, and I'm thinking that up where they were, sometimes you can just snap in the moment. It doesn't matter who's around, and that seems what happened here. Maybe she says something to him that set him off. That often happens with a batterer, and he just let loose on her. But why was he up there with a syringe? I mean, was it planned?
Exactly,
Dr.
Sue. Right, which makes me think that something was planned, because apparently he had two syringes and a vial. As Barbara noted, we don't know what was in the vial, what the intent was there, but I wonder, Dr. Sue, does it seem like if these facts are true, if we were to accept them as true, just for the sake of our discussion, does it seem like he couldn't pick what he wanted to do? Because first he tried the pushing, then he tried the injecting, then he tried the assault with a rock.
Well, yes. I mean, this seems to me like a rageful, impulsive attack. So when he couldn't find one way to kill her, he tried to go to the next to get it done. But thank God he did not succeed. And this lady has a very, very long recovery ahead of her. And I hope that justice is served here.
I do too, Dr. Sue. And Barbara, quickly, Ariel is stable?
She is. She's home back on Maui now.
That's great.
And she does have this restraining order, not only against her, but their two young children, 4 and 2. The son that he called back in Pennsylvania to tell him that he had attempted to kill his new wife, that son is also under the protection order, as are Ariel's parents and the family dog. So hopefully they're going to be protected.
Right, still in on that $5 million bond. Barbara McDonald, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, thank you both so much. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Mama Donna Adelson, why she wants her daughter Wendy's book banned from trial.
A trial capturing national attention
as a widow stands accused of brutally killing her husband.
It's a must-see case on Court TV.
The battered and burned murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Set on fire and run over. Did Linda Sturmer kill her husband in the most horrific way? Previewing each day in the battered and burned murder trial.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
with Carvana.
Now, for what's tipping the scales of justice, the judge in Donna Adelson's trial appears to be leaning toward allowing questions about a book written by Donna's daughter, Wendy Adelson. This book, I have in my hands here. So Wendy Adelson wrote the book, This Is Our Story, years before her husband, Dan Markell, was murdered. It's about a woman named Lily who's stuck in a small town because of her husband's job. Now, prosecutors have drawn parallels between the character in the book and Wendy. The book also came up at the trial of Donna's son, Charlie, and in the jail calls. Take a listen.
There's only one reason why Catherine read that line from her book. There's only one reason, and to drive home the message that Wendy thinks she's smarter than everybody else. She foreshadowed her move in a book. She even wrote a book about the move.
She foreshadowed her move in a book. Oh, my goodness. So Wendy has downplayed any connection between herself and the character in the book, Lily. The judge has not made a ruling yet, so we're wondering what should be tipping the scales here. Let's bring back in our legal analyst guests, Mario Gallucci and Don Malarsic. Okay, should Donna be able to have this excluded and rest easy? Prosecutors are not going to talk about it at her trial. Don Malarsic, what do you think?
Well, Julie, traditionally I am against book banning, but in this case I have to say yes. This should not be a part of her trial. It is clearly more prejudicial than probative of Donna's guilt or innocence. It also has the real possibility of confusing the jurors about the characters and whether it's the real person. It's not a book that Donna wrote. So I think all in all, the cleanest, smartest, safest thing to do is ban the book.
Great points. Mario Gallucci, what do you think? Should the book be banned?
I think a lot like Don. As a matter of fact, I'd like to try a case with him.
You two be sensational. That's a dream team right there.
I tell you, without a doubt, that book should be banned. There's no reason to allow that book into evidence. As a criminal defense attorney, I would be jumping up and down. This book has absolutely nothing to do with the allegations in the case. It was written as a fiction document. No way. I would. This would be ultimately the one thing where I would stand and say, no, Judge, you can't let this in. And if he did, I'd get my appellate guys on it right away. I would even consider taking an interlocutory appeal on something like that.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Okay, Mario, thank you for that. I have a clip. Let's take a look back, a trip down memory lane, shall we, to Charlie's trial when Wendy was on the stand and what she was saying when she was asked about the character Lily.
Was the public interest lawyer Lily?
Yes.
And is that the character that's sort of based after yourself?
No, really more based after a friend of mine.
And was Hiawassee, Florida, quote, just a small stop on the way back to what we had previously known as civilization? Is that a quote from your book?
That sounds like a quote from my book, yeah.
And who's the husband of Lily, the public interest lawyer?
You want his name in the book?
Yes.
I think it was Josh Stone.
All right, and what was Josh's employment?
Josh was an English professor.
Oh, okay. So the state argues that Lily is Wendy. This is Wendy's life, and talking all about her. Dawn, different set of facts for you. If Wendy were the one on trial here, how would you feel about the book then?
Yeah, I think that really changes the analysis then, because it becomes much, much more probative under those circumstances. And that really is the test, right? The judge has to balance how probative is this to the ultimate guilt or innocence of the particular accused. When it's a book written by Wendy and Donna's on trial, there's this, it's just not quite as probative. But if Wendy is on trial and she wrote the book, then I think it's fair game.
I appreciate that. Mario, let me go back to you on something we've all been wondering about. Is Wendy out of the woods? There are many of us who've been watching this case progress for years who have been thinking Wendy's going to be indicted. Last we heard she had moved to Austin, Texas, and no word of any indictment. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we'll ever see one coming for her?
So you would think, I believe there were 2 trials already. You would think that whoever was investigating this case would have found evidence indicating that Wendy had some sort of culpability in the murder, and that would have been brought forward already. I mean, this is old. I mean, this is back from, what is it, like 2011? So they would, without a doubt, I think Wendy's way out of the woods here. I don't think there's going to be any issue with Wendy being prosecuted for anything at this point.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Mario. Okay, Dawn, what do you think? Do you think Wendy can rest easy in Texas?
Well, I don't know if I'd say rest easy, but I think Mario's right. She's probably out of the woods. You know, I would assume that she has a lawyer, and that lawyer has been in contact with the prosecuting attorney's office and got some sense of her status in this. Is she a target? Is she a witness? You know, she has testified. She clearly has a Fifth Amendment right not to testify and can't be forced or compelled to testify for either side. And the fact that she has, and she did, and she was under oath, and she was questioned by the prosecutor, and nothing has happened, tells me that they just don't have enough evidence to indict her.
Great point, Don. And so, Mario, let me ask you, do you think they're hopeful something's going to come up at Donna's trial?
Yeah, look, they're always hopeful that something's going to come up. That's just the nature of the prosecution beast. But to Don's point, she's testified at a trial without an attorney that we saw present to protect her Fifth Amendment rights. So obviously, she has no issue in stating the truth. So I do think she's out of the woods here. Look, you know, it's a tragedy. I mean, she's lost so many people in her life as a result of that, and may lose her mother. But other than that, I don't think that she's criminally responsible here.
I could talk to you both all day. We're going to have to leave it there, though, for now, because we got to hit a commercial break before Court TV Live begins, and you both have to get off to court. To Mario Gallucci, Don Malarczyk, thank you both so much for your expertise this morning. And my friends at home, thank you for watching Opening Statements. You can watch it again, share the episode, tell your friends we're here every weekday morning, giving you coffee and court at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.